Iranian leftists now supporting the Islamic Republic. They used to hide that, but now they're openly supporting it, calling the protesters terrorists, right? These are people, there are some leftists in Iran who used to be part of Zan Zindagi Azadi, and now they are calling the protesters terrorists because they don't want any revolution with the brand Pahlavi to succeed, because their agenda is not a free Iran. Their agenda is not a prosperous Iran. Their agenda is to fight the imperialist West. Their agenda is to fight Zionism. That's their agenda. And if the Islamic Republic goes and a government comes that is an ally of Israel, an ally of the United States, they, in their mind, well, the Islamic Republic is better, because with all the problems that they have with the Islamic Republic, because the Islamic Republic has been fighting leftists, sometimes, executing on them, they think at least the Islamic Republic, at least it's anti-imperialist. At least the Islamic Republic is anti-Zionist. So if the revolution is going to be succeeding with the Pahlavi brand, they wanted to not succeed at all. They don't care about the Iranian people. They don't care about freedom. They don't care about prosperity. They just wanted to destroy Israel and United States, and that's their main agenda. And everything else that they say. This is why many of the classical liberal values that that in the West were successful when it comes to women's rights, when it comes to gay rights, when it comes to minority rights. These people have jumped on all of those things without that actually being their goal. These are the success of classical liberal values, in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. These people have hijacked that, they turned that into their branding, and they act like they're fighting for those things, but all of that is a show. This is why we mistrust people who call themselves feminists, or like we have a lot of doubt with people who are activists for the LGBT community, because their goal is not equal rights for women or LGBT. This is all just a show, and their main goal is to just destroy Israel and United States and the Western world order as it is right now. Everything else is excuse. Human rights is an excuse. LGBT rights is an excuse. Women rights is an excuse. That those are all just a show for their actual agenda to turn down the global order as it is right now. And this is true for many leftists around the world. It's also true for leftists in Iran, right? They don't want a free Iran. They want to destroy Israel and the United States. When it comes to oil, I just want to point this out. When they say that, oh, America wants to come take your oil, they talk about it as if America wants to come steal the oil. Okay, America, if they take Venezuelan oil or Iranian oil, they're going to buy the oil. They're not going to steal the oil. You know who's stealing the oil right now as we're speaking? China is stealing Iran's oil. If Iranian oil goes to the United States, it's going to go to the United States at market prices. Unlike right now, that is going to China at a discounted, very discounted price. When America actually gets Iranian oil, which is good, we want America to get Iranian oil because that's going to strengthen our bond. They buy, we sell. That's going to strengthen our bond. Yeah, come take our oil. Just make sure you pay the fair price for it. Come take it for sure. We don't want charity. We don't want America to come and like help out just because every country should prioritize their own national interest first. The reason we want cooperation based on mutual interest. Nobody is asking for charity. So if Americans are going to be involved and they're going to benefit from it because they're going to have more access to oil, great. Buy the oil, we trade, we have stronger bonds. Why is it that coming for like people like, oh, you want the oil? Why is that a dirty word? They buy, we sell, we make the money. So yeah, come for the oil. And we should be advertising that. We should be like, hey, you're going to benefit from this. If Iran is free, United States is going to benefit from this because it has more access to energy now. And we're going to benefit from this because we can sell it to America at a fair price rather than the Chinese at a discounted price. So
But
did I
like
answer?
they want the
Yeah.
US to be sanctioned essentially to like bring down the US capital system. They want the US sanctioned to like bring down the US capital system. They want the US to like struggle to have to like get oil and be like pushed to the point of like economic collapse to the point where they have to end capitalism and capitulate with ending capitalism.
You're talking about the
Yeah,
commies. That's what they want.
Yes.
yeah. Just
Yeah.
want to point
Okay.
out there that I wasn't saying anything of what the fair price is, but I'm just saying like if like I don't know, like 60%
I
of
wasn't,
the
but
Chinese
I
oil is
wasn't. I
coming from
wasn't.
Iran, it's like,
Mhm.
well, there has to be some discounts, of course, if you're buying that kind of lot. But I'm just saying like that you guys, the Iranian people, have had no say in the the negotiations. It's been done by the Khomeini and their their
RGC.
establishment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sold on the black
Sorry, make
market
that
right
point
now.
again.
It's deeply discounted.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is. It's deeply discounted. But Mark, what were you saying? I wasn't negating anything you're saying. I was just using your points to add to it. But what were you saying regarding the discount, Marco? I didn't catch that point.
Yeah, no, like every country negotiates bilaterally
Yeah.
usually, so
Yes.
they might get some kind of discounts. I don't know, but if you're buying
Oh
so
yeah.
much,
No.
uh, but
Okay. No.
I'm
But the
just saying,
discount. Those are. Let me clarify. The discounts I'm talking about is insane. I'm not talking about the normal discounts that you would get because of high volume. Those are natural discounts. The discounts that China is getting from the Islamic Republic for their oil, that is basically like they're like stealing. Like it's insane.
yeah,
It's
because
insane.
of the
It's
sanctions.
yeah, well, because they use the oil to fund terrorism.
Yeah,
The sanctions
exactly.
make sense. This
Yeah.
because the oil and gas money from the Islamic Republic goes to funding Hamas, the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hashd Shabi, Kataib Hezbollah, Zainabiyun, right? So they have to sanction it. The Iranian people wanted the United States to sanction the oil because it's not being used to fund the Iranian people. It's being used to fund IRGC and its proxies.
Yeah, and that's the
Yeah.
great part of it. I mean, getting Iran back into the normal market, is the great
Yeah.
thing that nobody's like advertising, and I find that very disconcerting. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to add to your point, Armin,
Yeah.
discrediting anything from my end, but just saying like, and I just wanted to shout out to Austin. Just make a new YouTube account and do things on a different manner. Just go search for the right wing stuff, and you get the right information. Just saying that it's the algorithm as well. So if you're just using your own
I don't
historic
think
account,
so.
Yeah.
I
Let's
yeah,
move on to the next person.
Okay, next we have Francesco, and then Austin and DDOM. You two are up next after that. So be ready.
Don't forget to mute your mic if you're not speaking.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about media manipulation by the point that Austin brought. And this is the way I see it. Of course, I can be wrong. I'm just a guy on the internet, so it's not. But what I see that in free society, generally the truth comes out. And it's true that the USA government manipulated the media, and Mark Zuckerberg talked it openly in the biggest podcast in the world, Joe Rogan. And generally, the way it is done is by inducing biases. So it's not just censoring people because just that doesn't work. Doesn't work well, and you don't generally do it directly. So you don't intervene with directly with Google or Facebook, but you use other companies. For example, I don't know, Disney that wants to censor comments on Snow White and uses copyrights to do so. But right now, the media is the freest that it's ever been after Elon bought X. And so the threshold for information has kind of changed. So there is a lot of less censorship around. The thing that we should worry about is the media that comes from abroad. For example, TikTok, they promote everything that's insane. And there are foreign governments that have programs like the Chinese government has the Wu Mao army to basically change the opinions. And there are literally bot farms. So there are rooms full of phones, and those are used to basically push a narrative. And we need to be careful because you cannot do the same in China. They are using the platforms to basically promote anything that, like, who should care about a bridge built in China, right? Why does it pop in the feed? That gets promoted by bot farms because the Chinese government wants to show an image of progress within China while everything is basically rotting within. And then there are medias that are considered legitimate, like Al Jazeera, the BBC, that takes clips. I mean, Trump had sued the BBC, right? Because they cut what he said during the January 6th speech in a way that didn't convey the truth. And this thing get amplified by all the other medias. Then, of course, you can invite idiots to talk. And there are platforms like Piers Morgan, for example, that doesn't fail to invite idiots to talk. And that gets amplified. These are not sophisticated ways. The best way to lie is with facts, saying the truth by framing. So, for example, you just put, I don't know, very strong images on the news, and that somehow causes an emotional response. You can do what is done now for Iran. You just move on in talking about Greenland. To be honest, the events of Iran are way more important than what happens on that block of ice. There are NATO concerns, but I don't think it is done on purpose. You can connect something that's not connected and disconnect what is not connected. Sometimes you just focus on one thing for a lot of time and you get the wrong idea to people. Let's say Gaza, it was all over the media for basically years. So that convinces people that, of course, a genocide is happening. And then another thing that is done is for the opposite reason. You want basically to normalize crime, to never connect the dots. For example, you always see, I don't know, people kidnapped or shot, but you never tell who does it. It's just a report in the news, and that somehow normalizes violence. So that's everything I wanted to say.
All right, thank you for that.
Okay, Armin, next we have Austin and then D-Dom.
You're
I'll
muted.
try to be quick. I didn't know we had about 20 people, 20 plus people. I thought it was just us six looking at this mobile. So I didn't know we had like 20 people in here. I apologize. I think I just have a blatant mistrust of any large institutions, and I'm being fed all type of rhetoric, leftist and maybe even Russian or and I'm doing my best to seek through the truth. I wrote down like I can't still quite shake the conspiratorial evidence, and I really don't. I mean, I think my job is just to. I have used this platform and Armin's platform, watching the videos to try to educate. Sometimes it seems you're just getting repetitive and caught in a hole, and maybe that's the case with me too. Because what you're saying, I literally do not see. I don't think I'm on right wing things. I literally think something more subtle and
You want to look for, like you can search, right? If you can make your own mind, if you just look for information, it doesn't have to pop up in
sure.
your media.
I just have, I guess, just a general distrust, but maybe I just have biases that are very more unconscious.
So, Austin, it's good to
Sorry.
be skeptical, but like you don't have to end there. You could then go do some research and verify. You know what I mean? So I
I'm doing my
encourage you to
best.
be skeptical. Yeah, no, that's good. It seems like you're trying, right? So I think the first step is to be skeptical and not just trust the information that you're receiving. But that it doesn't have to end there. Then you could actually go and try to find sources and verify the information. And the next step is to go and see which one is correct. So you don't have to just sit and consume and just be like, oh, I cannot trust this. You could actually then become active
I
in
feel
the
that I have to
verification.
literally travel the whole country and document things live in the face. I feel just the whole digital platform already skews me, and then any powerful,
So
I just have skepticism
no. So
everywhere.
here,
That's
like
all.
I know a lot of people.
And I
Here's what
like
you could do, and I'm
Francesco's
not.
point.
Yep.
Maybe I'm being too overly skeptical, never coming to a conclusion. But my
Right.
conclusion is I just want more knowledge and information and experience and more reliable sources. I don't trust governments.
So
I trust regular people, and the fact that we have to communicate through these large. I don't trust my government. I don't trust their government, And it
Okay,
is
we're good.
kind of moral equivalency in some respect. I'm sorry to
I
be
don't want to. I don't want to
disrespectful,
keep.
maybe if that is.
I think we already made this point, so I don't want to keep like repeating that.
Sure.
But we get it. We get it. And then I think the more you come to our discussions, like you could see how we could. What are the ways for us to realize which sources are more reputable? So sources like there are sources that have proven themselves based on the record and are trusted. So usually based on people's past performance and how good their information was before, there are some sources that are more reliable than other based on what we've seen from the past. So that's one thing that we use. There are some sources that are more credible, that are more trustworthy, and that's not based on not just based on
Of course, I want a better
biases.
world. I don't want people to be
No,
unjustly hurt and killed.
I'm
Whole
okay. We're
methodology
jumping
is
from
just
one
not
to
satisfying.
okay, let me just say something else, and then I'm going to move on to the next because I
Sure.
know you changed this topic because we were talking about how to do research, and now we're talking about wanting a better world. I'm talking more
No,
about how you.
I want to be seen that I am skeptical toward the positive things. I just, the
No, it's okay
methodology,
to
I'm
be
like, just,
skeptical. It's okay to be
yeah.
skeptical. I'm not saying not be skeptical. I'm just saying being skeptical is not enough. Being skeptical is the first step. The second step is learning how to address that skepticism and find more better information and how to verify that the information that you have is correct. That's the next step. So
I,
being skeptical is okay, but that's the first step. Okay. And another thing I want to talk about we're talking about left and right. I mean, I use it all the time because everyone else uses, but I don't think that's a very helpful categorization. I think, guys, there's three different ways that people divide. Austin, can you mute your mic because I think I'm getting, yeah, thank you. So guys, left and right is not very helpful. Progressive and conservative is not very helpful either, because left and right doesn't make it much sense to me. Because when we're talking about left, usually we're talking about more liberty when it comes to social stuff, but less liberty when it comes to economic stuff. And when we're talking about right, we're talking about usually more liberty when it comes to economic stuff and less liberty when it comes to social stuff. I know this is a very simplified version of it, but it doesn't make any sense. I want liberty across the board. So both on social stuff and economic stuff. So that's why right and left doesn't make sense to me when it comes to categorization. When it comes to progressive and conservative, that doesn't make any sense to me either, because whether we want to progress, we want to change something, or we want to conserve something depends on what we're talking about. There are certain things that are working well. We shouldn't be changing them because it's just working very well. So we need to conserve it. And there are certain things that can improve, and we have figured out a better way to do it. So we need to progress and find a new way to do it. So progressive and conservative, you can be progressive and conservative across the board. You have to figure out what the hell we're talking about before we decide we want to have a conservative or progressive view on it. What makes sense to me is liberal and illiberal, right? So if you're from the left and you have classical liberal views, you're with me. If you're from the left and you are woke and we have communist views against Samantha, so but I consider communist and woke stuff to be illiberal. So a lot of the left who is like that is in line with classical liberal values, I consider that to be liberal left. Again, right leaning, there are many right leaning people that are in line with classical liberal values. I consider them as our allies. A lot of people from the woke right, like the Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson's of the world, they are illiberal. The fascists, the Nazis, the racists, the misogynist part of the right, they are illiberal. So left liberal, right liberal, they're aligned with us. Left illiberal, right illiberal, they're not aligned with us, right? So liberal and illiberal is the more productive way, I think, to categorize things. All
Okay.
right.
Next, we have D Dom, followed by Mr. Jeffrey.
Right, good evening. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm just home and everyone is sleeping. So I wanted to say thank you, Armin, for calling Tucker Carlson a fascist. He's a fucking fascist. People have to know this and be more loud about it. The other thing is point on the informational and the psychological warfare, and the bad guys in our history have invested so much effort in their propaganda that they want to make you feel that you are the minority, although we are not. The people that are not far left or far right. Sorry for the usage of the left and right categories. I know this is not what I would want to use, but that's how we used to it. So just make a point that the people that in the right side of history they are more than those who are in the wrong side. But those who are on the wrong side are too vocal, too loud, and it just makes you feel like you are the minority, although you are not. Maybe I'm wrong, but you can fix me on that matter. Another thing is on the matter you told about people who got killed in Iran while the demonstrations, and then the IRGC tries to make people pay for their loved ones. Like maybe it shouldn't be like send them a message not to cooperate because that's not what their loved ones would want, like something like this.
Yeah, I mean, so many of the families are not cooperating, but a lot of families, it's hard to tell them that because they really, I mean, I'm an atheist, so I can't relate with that, but a lot of people feel like they associate with the body with their loved ones, right? So if they don't get them back, it feels like they have completely lost them. I think a lot of Jews actually relate with that. That's why Jews are really, really insistent on getting the bodies back. Some family members are like, yeah, fuck you, I'm not going to pay you. You killed my brother, I'm going to pay you for killing my brother. But some family members are like, just can't, they just cannot deal with it. They're like, we want our loved one back. I don't know if I shared the video. Like the father was looking for his son, Seper, calling out for his son. When he was looking for the body of his son, he was saying, Seper, where are you? My son, where are you? So he's associating the body of his son with his son. So it's really hard to say to a father like that, oh yeah, just forget the body, go home without the body. So it's more emotional. So it's really hard. Like, I don't think we could tell them that. But yeah, I see your point though. It's really, I do see your point.
Yeah, I don't think I could live with myself if when my parents died, I didn't make sure their bodies got buried. Like, I could not live with myself if I didn't make sure their bodies were buried when they die.
They are
Mr.
too
Jeffrey,
big.
then Rayleigh, Jewish Samantha, and Marku. I mentioned in the chat that moving forward, since we only have about 30 minutes left and we need to make sure that Armin goes to eat, I'm not guaranteeing anyone who raises their hand after this. We'll see.
Thank you, BT. And Danny, we weren't criticizing you, okay? We were just adding information. We were not negating what you said. All right. Who was next?
I think she said me. I can
Okay,
go.
go ahead.
So I'm going to touch on a couple of things that were brought up. Maybe it can help, give people a framework and how to better get their head around it. With regards to moral differentiation regarding the application of power, power itself is morally neutral. The moral content resides in how the power is applied towards what ends and with what consequences. So in authoritarian regimes like Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state, the Chinese Communist Party, or the Mullah regime, the application of power causes structural harm. It deliberately suppresses the physiological and safety needs of its people. It uses coercion as a governing principle, not as an emergency measure. It criminalizes dissent, belief, association, and identity, regardless of their impact on, say, public safety. It treats populations as an instrument of regime survival and externalizes failure through repression and violence. Conversely, Western power, although not perfect, is constrained and correctable. Lower tiers of Maslow's hierarchy of needs are protected as a default condition. Force is applied episodically, often externally. Power is constrained by law, institutions, and public accountability. And dissent, reform, and correction are permitted and institutionalized. When you think about why the left amplifies Mullah regime's propaganda and very much focuses on, easily debunked arguments of moral relevancy. The contemporary Red Green Alliance kind of mirrors, in many ways, the similar reasons I wrote the marriage of convenience of the Red Black Alliance that took down the Shah. And while they hate each other, they possessed a superficial marriage of convenience centered around hostility towards the left, right? So, yeah, they don't like each other. That doesn't mean they don't hate us more than they dislike each other. And as far as like the moral equivalency or some of the nonsense that you see pushed by radical leftists that are amplifying the Mullah regime, I'm going to use a historical example again. If you think about like why it is radical leftists, this Armin talked about, like differentiating between, say, people who subscribe to classical liberalism in the United States, that would be a libertarian, and radical left-wing Marxist elements that tragically populated disproportionately increasing amount on the left. If you think about like why it is radical leftists hijacked the civil rights movement from the mid and late 1960s during the Soviet era of the Cold War, the civil rights movement in and of itself, very much noble and needed. The warped, transformed, and weaponized versions of them are not. And it comes at the cost of actually helping the very people the left claims to care about, which they don't, right? For instance, if you think about comparing the economic issue of oil, right? Well, everybody's got interest in Iran, and so that means there's no moral differentiation between Western interests and Chinese Communist Party. There is a huge difference. If you're using like a maximum consequentialist approach to determining who does the most good and using Maslow's hierarchy of needs as your indexes to measure how you do the most good, economic interdependence, as it's defined as free trade between Iran and the West, that is envisioned via His Highness Reza Pahlavi's Iran Prosperity Project, is far night and day better than the lack of benefits that Iranians get under the pseudo-theological cronyist system that currently exists and is defined by the relationship between the mullahs and the chaikhams. There's no connection. It's the same when you think about like propaganda against the Shah, right, during the Soviet era of the Cold War. There is no similarity whatsoever in the unbelievable quality of life that Iranians generally experienced under His Highness Prince Reza Pahlavi's father's time as the Shah and the horrific nonsense that came after it, by any measure you care to name. I mean, I can go on. I want to give other people some time to talk. I just figure I'd like help tighten the shock group maybe on some of those things.
Thank you. That was on point.
Thank you. Okay, next is Rayleigh and then Samantha.
Yes, I'm in the field of cybersecurity, and I've been hyper focused on recently on this. Last week we had an outage with Verizon, and it knocked out a significant number of people, including myself, in our phone coverage. And then I think it was yesterday that Microsoft's Office Suite had an outage. And I haven't been monitoring the hacker forums yet, but I need to go on there. I have been preparing for a storm that's supposed to be hitting us soon, so I haven't had a chance to go on there. But I'm wondering if, these outages are related to some sort of attack from Iran, or maybe it's proxies in North Korea or China or Russia, if there's any connection between the two.
I don't think there's any connection.
The timing just seems very strange to me.
The U.S. has snowstorms, there's blackouts all the time. This is not a bizarre thing. It's winter.
Not the winter storm, the Verizon outage that happened not last Wednesday, but the Wednesday before, and then the Microsoft outage.
Things glitch.
Okay.
I don't know the answer for sure, but that's actually not a out of the left field scenario. There have been historical data attacks. I think North Korea brought down the Sony PlayStation Network as a protest to the film with the mock assassination. So rogue states do use hack attacks like this to send messages to their enemies. So it wouldn't be unheard of.
I know. I remember that before, and it may not be directly from Iran. It could be from one of their proxy states. But I don't know. It may sound far fetched. I don't know.
As a general rule, weak states use asymmetrical warfare. When they can't match their opponents in terms of military strength or diplomatic strength, they can resort to things like this, maybe to achieve some political end.
That's all I had to ask. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Samantha, you're next.
The people of Iran are fucking brave, man. Like, they're really fucking brave. And I feel so fucking shitty that, like, they're so fucking brave. Half the time, I'm scared to even fucking talk.
I
Well,
take a chance
Samantha,
to
you,
apologize that up to
yeah,
like 2 weeks ago, I thought, or up to December 28th, I thought that Iranian people were too scared to do what needs to be done. And I was very, very wrong.
well, I mean, let me respond to both of those. First of all, Samantha, I mean, I personally will never forget you standing by our side. Okay, so you represent a lot of people that I really really admire. Okay, and don't, so we will never forget that. We will never forget that. Okay, so and thank you for everything you say and everything you do in our supporting us. To Danny's point, but Danny, thank you so much for changing your mind on that, because when the Iranian people were not coming out into the streets, we were having a lot of difficulty trying to explain to people that it is going to happen. And I don't know if you heard me saying that we know it's going to happen. The Iranian people were just waiting for the right time. And I think they chose the time wisely. I mean, they have a record of showing up when they're needed, and they have sacrificed so much before. They sacrificed so much in the Bloody November. A lot of people don't know about Bloody November. There was a mass slaughter as well, but the Islamic Republic did a really good job hiding that in a way that the world is not talking about it, that the world forgot about it. At least we predicted that this will happen because we knew that the Iranian people are not going to be tolerating this much oppression. And we know that the price would be high. And we know that the Iranian people would be willing to pay it. That's why they call Iran the land of the brave. Now we tell you, a lot of people think that, okay, they went back and they're not going to come out based on the experience that they had. It's over. And just like we said before, they are going to come out in numbers that you're not going to believe. And it happened. So this time, like, I hope people believe me that no, the revolution is not over and the Iranian people are not done. Yeah. So no, the revolution is not over, and it doesn't take it, it's going to take a lot more than, even though this slaughter that we just saw is the darkest part of Iran's history, it's not going to be enough to keep Iranian people in their home. In fact, if anything, it has reduced the doubt among the remaining. So if there were any other people in Iran that didn't want to fight the Islamic Republic, now they actually came on the side of joining the fight as well. So I think it will backfire, and I think they will show up even stronger than before.
It's me that the CCP is evil.